Your Iowa football questions as we get ready for the big stretch here of 8 games. It starts with Ohio State this week, obviously the most difficult one. Plus, we hear from Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com, a busy Locked On Hawkeyes.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We're available wherever you find podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube. While you're there, hit that subscribe button. If you're on the audio side, Apple reviews, whatever it is, 5 stars, that's what we're looking for. Helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Place your first $5 bet. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, I start today with a little bit of a frog in my throat, but we're off and running here today. And let's get the new week started with a lot of football conversation. Digging into the mailbag, your thoughts, your questions, your comments that come in on Twitter, social media, X, Facebook, and the like, and also what you say on the comment section over on YouTube. So we're going to get into those here today. Tom Kakert's going to join us. A lot of good insight into this Hawkeye football team, kind of what they went through during the bye week and what they're going to have in store with Ohio State this week. It is an incredibly difficult task against this Ohio State team. I guess the good news is Ohio State hasn't been tested, has not played a very difficult schedule to this point in time. We'll see what Iowa has, and we'll get into that more and more as the week goes on. All right, let's get into your comments just a little bit and talk about some things. This one comes from username invalid. All right, there's a great start to things. The thing that's different about Lester is that he's an actual offensive coordinator. I loved how he was explaining things during media day. I felt like we never had anything from BF that was sniffing the depth of information and explanations that Lester gave us. Got to stay grounded and remember that it's his first year. Better days are ahead. Just wait until he can recruit his own players. I think that's really well said and something that I've been continuing to try to relay here about this football team and what it still can be. Yes, in the future, that's going to be great. And when he gets the quarterback that he wants, he gets the kind of system in place that he wants. But you just see that the leaps and bounds this team has made on the ground this season, and it is immense. He was able to move away from the old system of the zone blocking scheme. And though they were doing that recently, the big step forward that we've seen out of that, it just makes sense in today's environment, what they're able to do with the Shanahan offense and the zone blocking scheme that's still a part of it, but doing it in a different way. And you're seeing that. And we've talked about in the past, every dayers, we talked about this a couple of times last week, where instead of that outside zone, basically almost turning into kind of a sweep play to the outside, now you're going off the inside hip of your tackle or even your tight end. So it's inside just a little bit more. And those creases have been absolutely huge. We've seen so many times in the past, an outside defensive end, an outside linebacker being able to come from the backside of the play and make tackles and make plays. And because of that, that is something that overall has been a huge, huge component. So we have seen definitely a big step forward out of this group, out of this team, and what they've been able to do on that side of the football. So that has been absolutely huge to this point in time of what we've seen out of this group. Continuing on with more of your comments here from YouTube, a couple more coming in. How come the dean of coaches get it done? Not sure on that one, Hollinsworth, what you're going for there. Did you see the right hash to left sideline pass to Gill, followed by the opposite side to Gill? 32 yards, ball in the air. He's got plenty of arm strength. Just let it happen the next few weeks as the playbook gets deeper. I think this is a great point. That's from Tom Nickel. And it's something that I continue to say, guys, yes, Cade McNamara doesn't have a strong arm. We get that. But stop with the comments that he can't throw the ball 30 yards. It's just stupid. Stop being dumb. He can throw the football 30, 40, 50 yards. That is not what it is. Does he have the arm strength to throw a deep out? Does he have the arm strength to do that deep stop route and just have the ball whizzing through the air? No, he doesn't. But that's okay. There are a lot of quarterbacks at the collegiate level that don't have the arm strength. You had arm strength, Spencer Petras. He's a terrible quarterback. You had arm strength, Deacon Hill. Terrible quarterback. Cade McNamara is still working off the rust. He's still going to get better. And just, you can say that this offense needs to get better, that the passing game has to get better. I say the exact same thing here. It's true. Yes, it has to get better. Yes, there has to be plays down the field. You can't go up against a team like Ohio State, and as talented as that team is defensively, and try to do everything 15 yards and in from the line of scrimmage. It's not going to work. We all get that. But then to go a step further and say, well, he can't even throw the football that far. It's not true. Go back and watch the first game. Off his back foot, he threw one 41 yards into the end zone for a touchdown. Off his back foot. You can't throw the ball 30 yards. Knock it off. Just use a little bit of mental gymnastics that people continue to go down. It drives me crazy. You can say he doesn't have a strong arm because that is a truthful statement, but the stuff that he can't do it. And if you think that there is a guy right now that's ready to play that has a stronger arm, I'd like to see him, because it's not Brendan Sullivan. Brendan Sullivan's strength is not his arm strength either. Is he a better runner? Sure. Is his accuracy there? We don't know. He had one game against Northwestern. One game that he was accurate, that he was making plays, again, outside the line of scrimmage, screen plays and little bubbles and things like that. One game where he was able to go down the field. But that is not part of his game either. Don't think that Brendan Sullivan's going to come in there and he's going to look like Jeff George. That's not what it is. You don't have it there. And Marco Lainez, he's not there. And there's nobody else on the roster that's there. James Rezar is likely never going to play quarterback for this team. And there's a reason this guy was recruited out of Florida and nobody from the ACC and the SEC basically wanted him. All right. So that's kind of what we're at this point in time. Just use a little bit of reasoning, a little bit of thought process, and we will figure that out as we go forward. All right, let's continue with your comments here again from YouTube as we're making our way. Sorry, my blood pressure getting a little bit higher there. This from Cody. Tim Lester definitely has me excited on what the passing offense could and can be. When Iowa gets the passing game figured out, look out. Go Hawks. Great stuff there, Cody. You're exactly right. And there are going to be more layers. And with this bye week, I think there is a real potential that we're going to see a step forward, that we're going to see them take a big jump through, and we're going to see this passing game with more layers. I mean, we heard Tim Lester say this back last week during the press conference, that they had some deep shots. They had some things that they thought they were going to be able to do, some plays that were there. Caleb Brown, he runs the right route. Guess what? It's a touchdown. He was there. He played one play, and that was the reason he only played one play, is because he didn't run the route correctly. And when you don't run the route correctly, and there's a touchdown there and you miss on it, you're not going to play. Now, will he be ready to go this week against his former team, the Buckeyes? You would certainly hope so, but one to keep an eye on that front too. All right, let's continue here going on. This is from Mikey Mike. No, the passing game can't get going with that noodle arm back there. They don't have anybody on the roster that's going to be better, Mikey. There just isn't. This was the year that they should have went out and got a QB with arm strength to convert the 3rd and 11 through the air. Kyle McCord was out there. They sniffed around. He's stuck at Syracuse where no running game, instead, they reinvested in a broken down noodle arm who's really 5'11 instead of 6'1. Okay, that doesn't matter. Drew Brees is 5'11. I mean, his height, come on. That's where we're going. He doesn't have a strong arm. That's fine. But say that he can't do it. He can't make a 3rd and 11 play. Come on. He's made 3rd and 11 plays this year. Again, use a little bit of deeper reasoning when it comes to that. We can get frustrated. I get frustrated just like you, but let's not go off the path. Just joined. Go Hawks is from Tom Ray. Thought from what I saw of the game and the coordinator comment, lots of confidence in Cade by the OC. Yes, absolutely. Tim Lester, we know that he is in Cade McNamara. Special teams better. And big Parker adjustment after the half. That's a great point. Going back to the Minnesota game, some of the buttons that were pressed there really bottled up everything they were trying to do. Minnesota had to go away from the run, and that's going to be paramount this week against Ohio State. We'll see about Will Howard. Looked like he got banged up a little bit in the game against Michigan State, how he's going to be where it is. There is another one there. So a lot of good comments here. We got a few more we'll get into, but coming up next, we're going to talk to Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com. I talk with Tom Kakert about everything happening with this Iowa football team, what the bye week is looking like as we roll through. This is Locked On Hawkeyes. Today's episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Information is incredibly important. And with that information, you're going to be able to feel more confident in placing those bets. FanDuel now is helping you out with that with the latest stats and live play-by-play. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Guaranteed $200 in bonus bets when you place your first $5 bet with FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com for more. FanDuel.com. And of course, not just NFL. They got you covered on the college front. How about Iowa, Ohio State? That thing all summer long. Buckeyes were more than a 3-touchdown favorite. Now inside of 3 touchdowns. Down to 20 over at FanDuel. Again, get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet with FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com.
Here's Tom Kakert to talk about the Hawkeyes. Tom, appreciate you coming on as always. No football this week. We'll recap what the coordinator said, but I want to start with, something remarkable that's taking place, and that is the lingering effect of people going to Iowa women's games last year, and despite the fact that that Caitlin Clark has moved on to the pros, they sold every single ticket. That is remarkable. A year later, that obviously it moved the needle, and a whole lot of women's basketball fans maybe have been born and are coming back for more.
It's really cool, and it's testament to the program that Lisa Bluter built and the impact that Caitlin had on Iowa women's basketball. And I think both of those people are probably the most proud of anyone that this season is sold out, because that's a lasting impact that they're having on this program, even though both of them are no longer involved in the program. Caitlin and Lisa, Caitlin's in WNBA, just wrapped up her season, and Lisa's in retirement now. And but they built something, and I think what happened was fans came to those games and they just had a ball. They just enjoyed it, and they found out that it's a really good product. And now we'll see if it can kind of stand the test of time. But for this year, at least, everybody's back and everybody's excited, and now we'll see how good this team can be.
Let's go back to football, Tom, and a breath of fresh air, hearing Tim Lester talk offense, being competent, knowing what he's doing. That aside, there was one concerning element, and I know it was kind of flippant. It was a little jokey, but talking about a couple of shots, but he got overruled. I know there was a lot of message board chatter about that as well. So you were there. I mean, I watched it. I read the transcript, and I just wanted to kind of get a sense. How did you take that? How did you take that statement? Because certainly in script, it is eye-opening when you see something like that.
Oh, don't you 100% think that Kirk was probably on the headset and said, you know what, no shot plays. We're just going to get out of here with a win, and let's not mess around. Let's not take any chances. Let's just run. We're running the ball really well. Let's just grind this bad boy out, grab that pig, and let's head south. And that's probably what the head coach said. And it was just, maybe there's a different situation and a different game and everything where he's going to say, yeah, just go ahead, take the shots. But he just wanted to get out of there with a win and take no chances, because, as Kirk will tell you probably, the 2 out of 3 things that can happen when you throw a football are bad. The incompletion, the interception, and you can catch it, and that's good. But 2 other things are not so good. So I think he just wanted to get out of Minneapolis with a pig and a win.
So this is news to me. I'm not familiar with this story. So for our audience that's in the same boat as I am, what point of the game was this, Tom?
It was a third and fourth quarter is what Tim talked about on Wednesday or Tuesday, when he mentioned that he had kind of thrown out the idea of some shot plays, a couple shot plays in the second half when things were going well.
Yeah.
And he said, I got did he say outvoted or overruled? I think he got outvoted is what he said.
Yeah, 1-0 probably.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know that there was a whole committee there.
Right.
I think it was a committee of one.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Go ahead, Trent.
Well, a couple other components to that one. Phil Parker, you get kind of grumpy Phil every once in a while. He
was grumpy.
I don't want to say on edge, but it was okay. It was grumpy Phil. He was there because he was a little defensive on a couple of different things. I can't remember who asked the question, but about getting to the quarterback. Look, this team is playing really well against the run, but outside of the backups with Llewellyn and Brian Allen, who've shown an ability to get the quarterback out of the starters, that's not really how this group is built. Do you anticipate starting maybe next week against Ohio State, they're going to have to dial up more blitzes, more pressure? And we saw a lot of that from Nick Jackson in the second half against the Gophers.
Yeah. By the way, that was my question that I asked him. And it was really not even, he took it the wrong way. I was just like, do you feel like you're getting enough out of your pass rush right now? How do you feel about those guys and their development? Mainly, it was not a, hey, your pass rush stinks. What are you doing about it? Yeah. It wasn't anything framed like that. But he was on the defensive from the get-go when he was rattling all those stats off about how they were okay. And I think he had heard enough noise out there about them giving up big plays. And so he was going to come back and just kind of swat us over the head and say, look, all these other numbers are really good. So pipe down, media boys, But back to your question. Yeah, I think the only, the one guy that hasn't done a lot is Deontay Craig. He really hasn't. And and Blair Sanderson brought this up this week too, that in that pass situation, I'd rather have Aaron Graves out there with Brian Allen at the D tackle positions than than Deontay Craig, because Craig's just not getting any pressure at the feet of the quarterback at all. There's just not much there. But Aaron Graves has gotten the ability to get to the quarterback, and we've seen what Brian Allen can do too. So that's one of the things I think would be smart to do right now.
Mm-hmm. LeVar Woods was also part of it. I think one of the more remarkable stories of the first 4 games of the season, because we just didn't know, right, how Drew Stevens was going to come back after the disappointing end to last year. Hasn't missed a kick. Hasn't missed. I think it's remarkable. And whatever he did during the off season, I don't know if it was coaching. I don't know if it was sitting down with a sports psychologist, whatever it was, Tom. I'd love to know, because boy, oh boy, what a difference that amount of time could make from when we saw him at the end of 23 season to what we've seen so far in 24, night and day.
Yeah, and I don't want to say Drew's cocky, but Drew's confident in himself. And then experience his first kind of bump in the road as a college player, I think kind of humbled him a little bit. And I think LeVar would tell you that. And now he's just smoking the ball. He's in fact, I asked LeVar if they gave any thought to kicking a field goal at the end of the Iowa State game as opposed to trying to throw that ill-fated Hail Mary. And he said it didn't come up, but and I asked him kind of what's kind of Drew's ultimate range, and he said from the logo. So we're talking 60 plus, where he feels comfortable. And, we've been told that Drew could max out at about 67 yards, which would have put him in shouting distance and probably within range on that last second field goal against Iowa State. Could you imagine that if back-to-back last second field
Unbelievable.
Goal? Oh, my gosh. And one of them being like 65 yards or something. That would have been nuts. But ifs and buts, candy and nuts, we don't get to see it. So
no doubt. Would have been more exciting maybe than that Hail Mary turned out to be at the end, and the way that one finished.
The wounded duck?
Not good. But yes, yeah.
That looked like something Bill
Tom,
Kilmer used to
I know you've read it on your
right?
Just throw it up there. That football looked a lot different back in the day too, as opposed to the one that we have today. I continue to hear it on my podcast, on the comment section. Oh, you can't even throw the ball 40 yards. Cade McNamara can throw the ball 40 yards. He did it against Illinois State in the air off his back foot. He's not a strong-arm quarterback, but it feels like this narrative that Cade McNamara can't throw the ball more than 20 yards down the field. I think we're getting a little bit too far. How about you, Tom?
Oh, It's crazy. I think so many people just kind of checked out on him because of the kind of the outrage after the Kids Day thing, and I think people were just checked out, and they were just going to look for things that he did wrong. I thought it was just fascinating that Tim Lester came out and just like basically shot everybody down and said, "Look, that was his best game against Minnesota." And mind you, he threw for 62 yards, and he went back through all the throws, and he was like, "Yeah, about 6 of them were bad routes and guys dropping football." So it was really 11 of 13, and he just took up and Tim Lester has done something that I didn't think was possible at the University of Iowa, which is he's a popular offensive coordinator right now. And I never thought that would be
been a while.
would be possible because I can't remember a time where the offensive coordinator was well liked and respected and enjoyed, and it just hasn't happened very often. So I think that's helping, and I think the way he explained it was basically they've had like 8 weeks with this offense, and it's complex, and so it's going to get better. And I think it's helping that they're obviously Caleb Johnson's having a epic season, and that's certainly helping things right now.
HawkeyeReport.com, part of the On3 network. Tom, anything you'd like to promote before we let you go?
Nothing this week. But if you're into the winter sports, we've had a really busy week with all the highlighting men's and women's basketball and basketball recruiting, and men's and women's wrestling and recruiting for both those sports. So a lot of good content up there this week from us for the winter sports.
And back in action next week. Will we catch you driving to Columbus on Friday?
No, flying over there.
Oh boy.
Flying. That's a little
too far out of range. Gotcha. Tom, enjoy the bye week, which I guess starts tonight. I'm going to watch Washington too, with a week after Ohio State. They'll be at Kinnick Stadium, so we'll get a look at the Huskies. Tom, have a great week. Talk to you in 7 days.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, see you, buddy. Tom Kakert.
There he is, Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com, talking some Iowa football bye week and what we heard from the coordinators last week. We continue on here. A couple of news and notes to still get into, including a change for Iowa and some start times being announced for the kickoff times. Coming up, we'll get into that as we continue. This is Locked On Hawkeyes. Today's episode of the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. I love the ability on the Gametime app to see exactly where you're going to be inside the stadium. How many times do you get tickets? They can know exactly what your view is going to be, and it's completely different. Don't have to worry about that with the Gametime app. See where your seats are inside the stadium and get a full panoramic view. Plus, they're all in pricing. This one is a huge, huge benefit of the Gametime app. All in pricing using the total upfront, knowing exactly what it's going to be. No more surprise fees at checkout. That is something that is incredibly important. Toggle that feature so you can see exactly what your total is going to be for your tickets up front. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. Locked On College for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. Trent Condon back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for being with us, and thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Wrapping things up here, and kickoff time. Now, we've been telling you since the summer that the Iowa-Washington game was going to be an 11 a.m. kickoff, and it will be, as that was announced on Monday. So we have that one already in the books. We know that that is happening. It'll be 11 a.m. kickoff for that one. And you look towards the future. We're going to talk about this a little bit more tomorrow, the scheduling that went into play. So instead of Florida Atlantic coming up next year for a non-conference game, it's going to be Albany, the Great Danes. What do I remember from Albany? They pushed UConn one year in the NCAA basketball tournament. 16-1. They had a couple of Iowans on their roster. Brian Wilson from Lower Cedar Rapids. Was it Brian Wilson? Wilson and Lillis. Jenny Lillis's brother was on that Albany team. Outside of that, who knows? They made the trip out to Hawaii this year. That was a disaster. They had to go commercial because they had somebody didn't pick them up. Their bus didn't get there. That's all I know about Albany. It's going to be an absolute blitzkrieg. This should be domination, even with a completely new roster, it looks like, for Iowa football next season. But I think there are some other layers that are incredibly important to this, and some layers to what the new conference is going to look like. Scheduling agreement, a meeting set up again next week with the SEC and the Big Ten. They're pushing for automatic bids for their league, for the Big Ten, for the SEC, for automatic bids for each of those leagues in a 12 or potentially 14-team playoff. That definitely is going to be significant and really change the course before we even see the way that it happens. So we will talk about that a little bit more again on tomorrow's program. We are out of time for today. Thanks for being with us, and thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We got more on the schedule. We're going to start breaking things down. Coming up later in the week, Jay Stevens from Locked On Buckeyes. He's going to join us. We'll do a crossover edition, get a deep dive into Ohio State, and figure out what it's going to take down this behemoth in Columbus. Is it unwinnable? No. But it's going to take a lot. I'm talking about threading the needle. That's what it's going to take for Iowa football. We'll get into that, and we got you covered from all angles each and every day here on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On College Football. From NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors, Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. We got Graves here now, and he's got a full breakdown of all the big ones out there. Find Locked On College Football on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts. We'll be back with you tomorrow on the Hawkeye front. Until then, go Hawks.